I guess I just want some explanation on the go, no-go decision on May 7th. Was that supposed to go back to the board? For approval?
No.
No, there wasn't any notion to bring it back.
Basically, the no-go decision was an internal decision for administration, and we were taking into consideration some of the results of the pilot, basically looking at the level of student engagement. And the other piece of the puzzle was the technical responsiveness of the system. Did everything work? Was it easy to use for the teacher? Were we able to actually deliver the platform, the teaching to the students via the platform? So it was very much just a functional decision following the pilot, but it was not a board decision. The board decision was made in February 2012, which gave us a green light for the project at that particular time.
I have a question. Is the ultimate goal of our students learning actual learning, or is it level of engagement? Because I'm kind of thinking that it's learning, and I can read several comments from board members that were transcribed, and they seem to believe that this was coming back. There was actually going to be a pilot where results were going to be presented, and they were going to approve that pilot. I think that's what's very troubling, not just to Ms. Bailey and myself, and I don't know how many others, but I know thousands and thousands of people out in the community. There's been no evidence shown that this will increase academic achievement, and you can't do that on a 3-week pilot study. It's impossible. That's not science. Even Mr. Schiff at the rollout back on May 14th said this is an experiment and no one knows whether it's going to work. Well, I think that's part of the problem. We at least want to see some steps, some proof, some evidence. We want evidence solutions. And I don't think that we've had any reason to suggest that, hey, this is working. I think the project, personally, I think it's kind of neat. I think it does have some applications. I'm not against the use of iPads. I think there are certain uses, and I realize that the administration has done a lot of work. And again, it's kind of cool. But, you know, I think we have to be financial stewards, and I think we have to make sure that the money that we're spending is leading to academic achievement. And I think we should at least see some proof of that along the way before all this money is spent. And I know this is not part of this motion, so I may be out of order, but at least maybe in the future we could at least put something in here that before we go into wave 2, that the board does get to vote and does get to see some achievement results. Yeah, and those are some of my questions. How are we going to measure success with this? We've rolled this out to 14 schools. How are we going to prove that any increase in achievement was due fundamentally to having iPads in those classrooms? What tools are we going to use? What assessments are we going to use? Are all assessments going to be consistent across the district? Is everything else going to remain constant except for the use of iPads? That's a scientific experiment. And, you know, I pulled up some information from the Department of Education today, What Works Clearinghouse. And they're very specific as to evidence-based solutions, or I forget what the interventions is the word, the education word that they use. And we haven't seen that yet, and that's why I object to the fact that we've gone out and rolled out on wave 1 and spent $10 million. You know, I would have been fine if we had it at the 3 schools and we left it there for a little while and let's see how it works. And if it works and if we can prove it, great, go for it. But I just don't think we've seen that. And that's why I would like to see this program stopped now and reevaluate it.
I'd like to make a new motion that we defer the rollout of the second wave until March.
March of
Well, there
2000.
may not be any need for any
May
new
not be.
motion. I just take no action on this item, and it can be revisited at another date as appropriate.
Well, we got more information.
Yeah, that, well,
I would like to offer to provide, and I'll have to do some follow-up on the FCC rules because there are continuing obligations for Robert to provide status reports and continuing certifications to the FCC based on the status of the project. And there are deadlines associated with those required updates and postings throughout the use of the fund and the life of the program. And I want to make sure the board has a clear picture of the implication even of a delay. If there's an interruption in wireless service or a delay, we want to make sure that we're all on the same page as far as the impact that could have, because there are very strict reporting and audit rules for this.
We would just want to be kept in the loop of those reports and deadlines so that we weren't kind of blindsided and it was like, oh, well, sorry, we had to get that in.
Right.
Right.
I don't want to go to jail.
We don't want to either.
no, that's not.
The other consideration I
I
just
have one more comment. Dr. Herron, if I know you won't be here, but even before March, if we can maybe have a short period discussion with the board about, again, how exactly are we going to measure success? I think if we can just update the board as to your plans or your team's plans, even ahead of March, I think that would give us a little more time to formulate questions and to kind of do some of our own research on that. So that's my only comment and concern.
Yes, sir.